Music in written form is only a shell, it's not the actual thing. Music as music is something that lasts only in the moment. It's produced only in that moment. You can capture it on camera, but it's not actually being produced, it's not the music as it was at that moment in time. I think it's absolutely fascinating that we work so hard as musicians and we live completely in the moment. It was only when I was about 14, 15 that I began to take music seriously. I took a break from music for about a year for various reasons and just sort of did it as a hobby in school. I had other hobbies as well, which sort of ended up fading into the background. And then I had remembered that when I was younger I had a passion, and I almost wanted to prove people who had said that I wouldn't be able to do it, I wanted to prove them wrong in a way. And it worked in my favour because I worked quite hard from about 15. That's when the full expectation that I would pursue music as a career started. At the age of 7, that's when I started experiencing the tinnitus, but it would have been very mild at that point, so probably not really noticeable to me. I remember being in a very, very dark place with tinnitus at one point, very angry, very trapped in my own head because it was a cacophony of sound that I just did not want and was just there all the time. You can't get a break from the sound, ironically, despite losing some of your hearing. It was really difficult. In my left ear, it reacts to specific frequencies. One of those frequencies is male voices a lot of the time. I remember my brother, when his voice was breaking, I was becoming very, very angry at him because he would walk into the room, say something, and it would trigger the tinnitus. So in orchestras, if I ever play in an orchestra, I try and sort of shift my chair to make it so that my left ear is pointing slightly more away from the cellos, otherwise they will likely trigger it off. I think that everybody hears in a different way. It's just that because they only have their own experience of hearing, it's impossible to compare how other people hear. You know, with me, it's kind of easier. I can go, oh look, here's my audiogram, and you know, people have a visual cue of what I can hear versus what I can't hear. Whereas for everybody else, it's swings and roundabouts, really. Most people can't switch their hearing off, so there's always things that they're hearing. I think hearing has two elements to it. There's the passive hearing and there is the active listening. You don't necessarily have to be able to hear to listen to a number of other things that are going on around you. You know, deaf people are an example of that. They don't necessarily have to be hearing everything that's going on around them, but they might be taking in everything else and really listening to that, taking note of that. You can listen to vibrations, you can listen to visual noise, you can listen to all sorts of different things. It doesn't have to just be auditory. I suppose different instruments have colours as such, but I tend to use adjectives more to describe timbre and instruments, whereas the notes are very colour coordinated for me. I suppose if I had to describe, I don't know, maybe a bassoon, I would describe it as woody, rather than giving it a colour, or the flute is sort of fluttery. So yeah, I use more descriptive words for that. I've always played with hearing musicians. I feel like I need a lot more reassurance within a hearing ensemble than I do within a deaf ensemble. There are certain things that we need to overcome, such as timing. We have a lot more physical communication, body language communication, I think, than a hearing ensemble, which for me, as a deaf individual in a hearing ensemble, can make me feel quite isolated. The realisation sort of hits me. I can't distinguish whether I'm going wrong or whether the person next to me is going wrong. I can just hear that something is wrong. I experience a lot of worry that I am going wrong within an ensemble if I'm with hearing musicians who all seem to know exactly what they're doing at exactly what time. It only takes me a split second to look away from the conductor and not be able to hear what he's saying or she is saying, to miss a whole piece of information that maybe everybody else has gathered, realise that I'm on the wrong page halfway through the rehearsal, and for me that's very big. It falls apart in my world. But I have a few friends who are severely profoundly deaf and they're very successful musicians. I work with them, and it just shows that you don't need to have perfect hearing, you don't need to even have relatively good hearing to be able to achieve that. I know that I hear differently now to how I heard 10 years ago, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I think it's quite a good thing. I've learnt new ways of listening. It's new knowledge, it's new extensions onto what I already knew 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I'm learning every day from it. It's not just this linear one state of hearing in one way all of my life. And I think that's more of a gift than anything.